Alright, you're welcome back to this section of the class. In this section, we'll be looking at the domain of a function, how to go about the domain of a function. Okay, so we'll be looking at these examples and we'll be teaching ourselves on how to determine the domain of a function or of a mapping. Now, a quick reminder is that there is a slight difference between a mapping and a function, which I'm going to be discussing in subsequent classes. But in this section, we'll be solving questions on the domain of a function. I would like to remind that every function is a mapping, but not all mapping is a what function. I repeat, every function is a mapping, but not all mappings are functions. So in subsequent classes, I will be talking more about that. So let's look at this. We have to determine, in question 1, we have to determine the domain D of the mapping g of x to be what? 2x squared minus 1. If the range, given that the range R is equal to what? 1, 7, 17, right? Is the range. So, and G is defined on D, right? Good. So G is a function. Now, remember that the range of a function is the collection of all the images of elements found in the domain, right? So what that simply means is that there are some elements in this domain G of x that has this what respective image 1, 7, and 17. So that is what we want to look for, those elements having these what images, right? Good. And these elements are found in the what domain D, right? Good. In this function. So we are going to start with G of negative 1. G of negative 1 will give us 2 into negative 1 squared minus 1. That gives us what? 2 minus 1. And that is what? 1. So this 1 now is an element in the what? The range. It's an image of negative 1. That's what it means. This one is an image of the negative 1 we chose to be an element in the domain. So we can conclude that minus 1 is a member of what? D. Is part of the domain, right? Good. So not just that, we keep checking to check for other images. So G of 1 will give us 2 into 1 squared minus 1. The same thing goes 2 minus 1, which is what? 1. So you can see 1 also is an image of itself, right? Good. So in as much as we keep getting the results found in the range, then the number chosen or the element chosen is a member of the domain D. So let's come to G of negative 2. So we have 2 into negative 2 squared minus 1 equals to what? This 8 minus 1. And that gives us what? 7. So you can see that 7 is a what? An element rather in the what? Range. So negative 2 has an image of 7. That's the conclusion. G of 2. G of 2. All right, like I said, G of negative 2, or G of 2 rather, equals 2 into 2 squared minus 1, which is equals to 8 negative 1, which is what? 7. So we can see here that 2 also has an image of 7, right? Good. So let's check for g of negative 3, g of negative 3, which is equals to 2 into negative 3 squared minus 1. And this will give us what? 18 minus 1. And that gives us what? 17. So we can see that what? Negative 3 also has an image of 17. Good. In the collection of what? Images. Right? Good. So we have g of 3 now. And that gives us 2 into 3 squared minus 1. So which equals to what? 18 minus 1. And that gives us what? 17. So we can see that what? 3 also has an image of what? 17. So hence, the domain of this function g of x, the domain of g, will give us the following: negative 1, comma 1, comma negative 2, comma 2, negative 3, comma 3. This is the domain of what? The function g of x. So this is how to find the domain of a function when the images are given. When the images are given. The images are found in the codomain, right? And the domain are called the pre-images. The pre-images are referred to as the what? Elements found in the what? Domain. While the images themselves are found in the codomain, right? Or which gives us the range of the word function. The range of the function is the collection of all the images of elements found in the domain. That is what gives us the what? The range. All right. We have come to the end of this class. Thank you for your time. This is Clever Minds, and do have a wonderful day.